We have activated a mob who can come for us at any time. I feel sorry that I didn't stand up for Charlie Kirk more.
Is it that politicians are playing catch-up with the reality of the world?
They created 1 million Charlie Kirks when they shot him, you know.
17 days ago, writer and comedian Graham Linehan was arrested by 5 armed cops after landing in London on a flight from the United States. In one of the most absurdly melodramatic arrests in recent memory, the free speech advocate had his collar felt on suspicion of inciting violence against trans people. Serious stuff, you might think. But this is what actually sparked a ludicrous and dangerous overreaction. He tweeted, "If a trans man is in a female-only space and won't leave, punch him in the balls." It was clearly a joke. Not necessarily Linehan's best, but a joke, nevertheless. Yet the British state felt it was appropriate to take the kind of chilling action that would make George Orwell feel, well, a little bit cliched. But a huge positive step which has come out of Graham's ongoing plight is the slow creep on free speech in the United Kingdom is suddenly front and centre of people's minds. President Trump himself has voiced concerns, and he may well raise it with Keir Starmer when the pair meet in the morning. The president used his state banquet speech at Windsor Castle tonight to suggest sacred values must be protected. Yet once again, we're forced to ask that question. What the hell is going on in Britain? Well, Graham Linehan joins me tonight from Phoenix, Arizona. And Graham, we're going to ask that big question in a moment. But first of all, I have a question for you. Are you OK?
Yeah, this laser eye operation that I recently had, it's nothing to do with my recent travails. But listen, Harry, I just have to make a quick correction to your opening, to your introduction. I didn't say a trans man, I said a trans woman.
Sorry, of course, yes.
The language, as you know, is always topsy-turvy in this debate because they like it that way, because it's confusing. So the best way I suggest everyone think of the word trans is it means opposite. And in my case, I was talking about males in women's space.
Yes, so I think we got the point. But yes, no.
Yeah, sorry.
No, not at all. I mean,
but yeah, I mean, of course, it's insane. It's insane. But like, I think the real story, I mean, clearly there's a free speech crisis in the UK. Not because of, I mean, our ability to say, for instance, common sense things like there's only 2 sexes has been severely curtailed over the last 10 years, you know? Now, that is a completely insane situation, first of all. But what we've had recently is because people are beginning to realize that that trans ideology is a busted flush, many of the most dangerous players are starting to lash out. We've seen it in the murder of Charlie Kirk. And in the UK, we've seen it in this disgraced ex-policeman, Lindsay Watson, who is using the police as his own private security team. He's behind many of the arrests, and an ex-sex offender called Stephanie Hayden is behind the others. So it's not just a free speech question, it's a police corruption question. And I have statements from several people who say that some of these trans activists didn't know their address, and then they had an experience with the police, including an arrest that wasn't recorded, and then these trans activists had their address.
Let's step back a bit and talk about. We're going to get into the values of it all. But first of all, for our viewers and our listeners who don't know the full story, could you just tell us from the beginning about your arrest? When did you first realise something was wrong? And I know we can't get into the specifics really on what's going on currently, but where are we now?
Oh no, I can tell you everything about what's going on. I mean, where are we now? We've had to go to the courts to get my ridiculous bail restrictions removed.
Which was you weren't allowed to continue using social media, to continue using X as part of the.
Yes, but they forgot to forbid me from using my Substack.
Indeed, and that's how you put the flare up originally, that you'd been arrested, and you told the world via Substack. But do you feel like they were, bail conditions that mean you can't use social media? That is a gagging clause, isn't it?
Absolutely. And another one of the victims of this crime gang that I'm telling you about has been told that he's not allowed to share his crowdfunder. Now, this is the police overstepping the mark to an extraordinary degree. And I simply don't know what magic these men have over the police. But I think it should be urgently addressed. I'm not sure. Is this live or are we going?
We are live, yes. So
okay,
just bear that one in mind.
if anyone from Trump's team sees this, I suggest they request an urgent meeting with the chief of police in the UK, because everybody knows this is happening, except of course the mainstream media, which ignores it. And
Not all of us.
It's an absolute outrage.
The police did, after your arrest, Mark Rowley, or allies of Mark Rowley, made it clear that he was seeking guidance from the government, guidance from ministers on how that common sense, to use a quote, can be applied to policing. Do you have any sympathy with the police that the laws themselves are incredibly murky and are being exploited in basically lawfare by activists, or do you think is it legal overreach, or is it police overreach, or is it a mess somewhere in the middle?
Well, I think Occam's razor comes into it, which is that the kind of most obvious explanation is the explanation, and I think
that would normally be
bureaucracy.
incompetence, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, but it's an incompetence that's not kind of the police's fault. When the police came off the McPherson investigation, or the McPherson tribunal, well, sorry, what was it? The report, the McPherson report, which called them institutionally racist, they were severely traumatized by this and humiliated by this. And unfortunately, they overcorrected. And Stonewall UK, which over the years transformed from an extremely important organization for lesbians, gays, and bisexuals, turned into an organization for cross-dressing men. And they lied to the police about the nature of the Equality Act for a decade. So now what we're dealing with is with policemen who, as my guy did to me when he interviewed me, used the term someone's sex assigned at birth. In fact, he didn't use sex, of course. He said gender assigned at birth.
Which has been through the court. So that has been through the Supreme Court now as exactly. Not valid, yes.
Yeah, it's activist language. And every single police force and every single NHS branch, look at what NHS Fife are putting Sandy Peggy through. They're torturing that poor woman. They've been captured by this ridiculous ideology that people like Keir Starmer and politicians and so on can't answer a single question about. You ask them the most basic questions about what they believe, and they cannot tell you any answer.
Is that because they are themselves confused, themselves muddled, or they are scared of a political backlash? Obviously, the tide, I think, has turned in this debate, not least in terms of yourself, with J.K. Rowling, with other prominent people who've spoken out on this, columnists, some of them sitting in this building who have helped lead that charge. Is it that politicians are playing catch-up with the reality of the world, or are they just trying to, is there a sort of political row here? Are they trying to win votes somewhere?
Their biggest problem is their staffers. Just as the Old Vic Theatre in London robbed London of a Terry Gilliam, Stephen Sondheim musical. They robbed London of that because he made a joke. Just in the same way that Jerry Sadowitz at I think it was the Assembly Rooms in Edinburgh was banned because of their idiot staffers. Basically what's been happening is that these stupid, cow-like staffers are calling the shots. I know there's one company, but I can never remember whether it's Lush or Pure or... Well,
we will check that. A company, go on.
It's a company that deals with feminine, lovely things.
An unnamed cosmetic company. Let's go with that.
An unknown, yeah. No, I wouldn't say cosmetic. It's more like smelly bath bombs. But anyway,
I can't think who that might be, but we got you.
I believe the CEO of one of these organizations, and I won't say it's them just in case, but one of these organizations is absolutely terrified of his staffers.
Yes.
And there was one guy named Christian Henson, who was with a company called Spitfire Productions, and he said something along the lines of, I agree with Graham Linehan and J.K. Rowling, giving children puberty-blocking drugs is disgusting, or something like this. I think within a couple of days, there was a letter signed by, can't remember how big his company is, but it was either 50 or 500 staffers saying if he came into work, they wouldn't. And in the end, he had to give up the business he created because of these people. Yeah. So basically what we've done is, over the last 10 years, without realizing it, is we have activated a mob who can come for us at any time. All you have to do is step outside what they decide are acceptable limits of conversation, and they will just try to destroy your life.
Do you still think that is the case, though, or do you think the Rubicon has begun to be crossed? Not least with your case, where you now have the police saying this is a bit mental. You've got politicians going, obviously this is overreach. Have we reached a turning point, so to speak? And we'll be using those words later on, funnily enough. But is the tide turning?
I don't think the tide will turn until a politician is asked what a woman is, and he says an adult human female. Until reality is restored in the UK, these kind of agents of chaos, like the ones who are tormenting me and other victims at the moment, they will continue to have the police as their own private security.
And you feel it's a moral cowardice? Because I was reading about your, will we ever see, for example, Father Ted the musical? There are millions and millions of people out there, I think, who would love to see Father Ted the musical, but I think that was something else that got sort of sacrificed on the council block, right?
Yeah, I mean, my problem now is I have such contempt for my colleagues and for Jimmy Mulville and Sonia Friedman for what they put me through. And what they destroyed, that I don't think I could work with them. When they were trying to get rid of me, I said, I will come in every so often and look at a rehearsal and tell you if it's going the right way or not, And I asked for that, and they refused. They said, no, we want a clean break. So because I don't ever want to see any of these people again, I'm happy to accept those terms, along with, of course, a public apology.
You've lost a lot in this battle that you've been fighting over the last few years. Your professional friends, personal friends, it's affected your family, it's affected you, no doubt. In the politest possible way, do you think it was worth it all along? Would you have done anything differently?
Well, I keep getting asked what I would have done differently. And the thing is, Harry, my life would have been very different if you had existed 9 years ago and spoken to me about these issues. But I had close friends, including people like Louis Theroux, John Ronson, Adam Buxton, and many more. And they all refused to give me the room to explain where I was coming from. And they did it because they were cowards. They did it because they were disloyal. And, it's a hard thing to be told that I should have done something differently when all my friends should have done something differently. They should have stood up for a friend. They should have stood up for their wives and children. But they were all cowards. And
you think that's a generational stain amongst the liberal industries that you were mingling in for decades?
Yeah, absolutely. I never want to have anything to do with 99% of people in the UK's entertainment business. I think they are disgusting.
Where would you put yourself on the political spectrum? Not necessarily party political anymore, but you've obviously been radicalised would be one word for it, and not in a negative way, I would say either. Red pilled is what the kids call it online. Where do you put yourself on the spectrum now?
Well, I'm quite proud that I get it in the neck from both sides still, because I think the thing that I have in common with a lot of the people who've been fighting this is that we just won't be told what to do. We are all kind of crotchety and stubborn and made of the kind of stuff that a lot of people don't seem to be made of. So my kind of political affiliations are with individual human beings, and I have to say I'm ashamed that I didn't share Charlie Kirk more, because I was kind of put off by his toxicity. So I was believing all the same things that were being said about me and not realizing that the same thing was being done to him that has been done to me. My Wikipedia, for instance, I've had 10 years of people reading out the first page of my Wikipedia to me, which is essentially a trans activist screed, So yeah, I kind of can't remember even where we began with this question. Oh yeah, my political leanings. I feel sorry that I didn't stand up for Charlie Kirk more. I realize now that the thought-terminating cliches, he said this, he said that, all of these have proven to be untrue. You know, we clearly, he's a Christian, I'm an atheist. We clearly would have had differences of opinion there.
That's the point, though, isn't it? You can't have that debate.
Best of men. But he looked like the best of men. You know, the way he spoke to college students, you know, and the way some of the left spoke back to him, the distinction could not be clearer. You know, we should stop talking about this because it really annoys me.
No, I don't doubt that. But do you think there's you know, obviously the world's attention is now on this issue. I mean, literally the silencing of free speech in the most horrific way. On Sunday, the President of the United States, the Vice President, half the US government, Charlie Kirk's late widow will be in Phoenix, Arizona, not far from, you know, I believe, where you are now. And that brings me to that point. Are we at a turning point? Are we at an inflection point in the West of, is everyone waking up in time? Or are we now, as Nigel Farage put it when he gave evidence to Congress, slipping slowly into an authoritarian hellhole?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem we have is that there are two subjects that we're not allowed to talk about.
Still.
And that's trans and Islam. You know, those are the two third rail subjects that no one can open their mouth about for fear of being not killed by a lunatic jihadist, but actually arrested and put in jail by our own government, you know? And, you know, I certainly started feeling that the police in the UK were not working for me anymore. They were working, or for the public, they were working for these, for instance, the trans activists who've been harassing so many people over the last few weeks with the law. So, you know, I always just start to finish off and then lose the run of myself. What was the question again?
I know. I mean, is it too late? How are people waking up in time or not?
No, I do have.
And will the sort of legacy of Charlie Kirk be more people actually willing to pick up a microphone, pick up a keyboard, and actually say enough is enough?
Yeah, I think he's. You know, as I said in one tweet, they created 1 million Charlie Kirks when they shot him. You know. But I think that there's two things that people need to take on moving forward. The first thing is that trans healthcare needs to shift its focus onto detransitioners. When you talk about undoing the damage, that's something that's going to happen. Detransitioners have to be put first and foremost at the top of trans healthcare. Affirmation, puberty blockers has to be completely banned, and we need to help these people who've been destroyed by this movement. The other thing I would say is the police, the FBI, and other organizations like that need to realize how much of this craziness that's happening, Charlie Kirk's death, murder, excuse me, women and men in women's prisons, straight women on Grindr. You know, these are things that show a world that's turned upside down. And the reason it's turned upside down is because there are currents underneath of connected online nihilists who are enjoying it and they think it's funny. And they are manipulating people without people really realizing why. It's a little bit of a in-the-weeds subject to bring up. But I do think the influence of nihilistic online cultures on society is not being understood at the moment, and it's urgent that we understand it.
You're in Arizona. You were obviously arrested when you came back into the United Kingdom. Is your understanding that you may have well have been in the United Kingdom when you sent the offending tweet? Were you?
Yeah.
There was a suggestion you might try and move to America permanently, claim political asylum from Donald Trump. Will you ever return to the United Kingdom? Is it lost to you?
I have such lovely friends who I made over the last, you know, feminists who I've befriended over the last 10 years, psychotherapists, social workers. You know, the asylum thing, I mean, my asylum statement was more about trying to cause as much embarrassment to Labour as I possibly can.
I think you did the trick there.
Good, because they deserve it. Because we need to get rid of politicians who, when asked the question, what is a woman, they can't answer it. Yeah. And I've been suffering in the UK because of these stupid spineless politicians and their absence from positions that they should be holding during tumultuous times. You know, Keir Starmer hid from this issue.
Yeah,
he hid
for
from
years he did it.
Yes. And ordinary people have to fight it every day because he's absent from the battlefield.
Well, Keir
Keir
Starmer will stand next to Donald Trump tomorrow in a matter of hours at a press conference and Donald Trump is well aware of your case. He mentioned it in passing not long ago about a clampdown, an unusual clampdown in the United Kingdom. Are you hoping it's going to get the global sort of box office attention of the state visit treatment tomorrow? Do you have any indication whether there might be some words?
My story?
Yeah.
My story. Yeah, I mean, what would be like after 10 years of desperately trying to get people to listen to what was happening to women's rights and children and gender clinics, if I'd known I only had to be arrested to get it to be made into a international story, I would have tried to arrange it much earlier, and I do hope he uses me. I also hope he speaks about Sandy Peggy. I hope he speaks about the Darlington nurses. I hope he speaks about a legal Gangar who's taking Stephanie Hayden to court or is being taken by Stephanie Hayden to court. I hope someone is feeding him these issues. I suggest Andy No is a good person. He's a brilliant journalist who's been covering these types of leftist movements for years. But if anyone would like to get in touch with him, he'll bring everyone up to speed.
Well, Graham, listen, all power to you, Robo. Thank you for sharing your story. I know it's been a hell of a couple of it's been a hell of a decade for you. Yeah. Thank you for joining us on Save the West, and very best of luck.